Returning to our GIF transformation assignment, I've changed it after playing with it this weekend a little bit. I changed the program. This was in there before, but I just took out the free GIF maker that I demoed the Animatic with, just because it's so basic. And instead, this one, this easygif.com maker, is newer to me, but I tested it out and it has some features that are going to be helpful, like ways to do transitions and better control of the timing. So when it gets time to do an animation test, we're going to use that one. And so I just made that the only option within the instructions to remind you. All right. So what are our goals? Our goals are to showcase a transformation that features at least some pixels that we've designed before. And we're going to showcase it in a GIF animation made for screen resolution, which is going to be 8 by 8 inches at 100 pixels per inch. Once we're done with that, we are going to, next class, make kind of a 9-frame flipbook, or tear out 9 pages from our animation flipbook to make what's called a refined storyboard that's print quality. And that's a way to have a print portfolio that showcases a transformation, an animation transformation. One example of that is this artist, this illustrator, Evan M. Cohen, who does a lot of editorial illustration. And you'll notice that a lot of his posters and things, he's actually stripped a lot of his animations from his website because he doesn't get paid for his animations. He uses them to promote these kind of posters and book projects, right? And so he'll often do basically a refined storyboard that shows sequential transformations that could easily be turned into a GIF animation. So in the assignment, I actually show that. If you just turn these 9 frames, it makes sense. Now, the more frames you add, the smoother it can be, right? But this is just simply these keyframes animated. Now, why are we learning this skill? Not only do you need to understand how basic animation works, but as a digital artist, it's more and more beneficial to artists to understand animation. Because even if you do only print or only website, like still images, even as graphic design, very often there will be an animated version made of what you make. So New Yorker has started to do that with all of its illustrated covers, which are some of the most iconic illustrations out there in editorial illustration. And very often, the artist will be expected to be able to animate their work as well. And if they're not able to, they give it to someone else to animate, right? So these different ways the work can be used is incredibly helpful. And it's not just to be a still image anymore. We also have like moving movie posters that you can see in theaters. And of course, animated logos that you'll see on websites and in branding. So we've posted our sketch, and then I just took my sketch and we did a rough animatic of it, right? And then last class, if we look at our YouTube videos, we got through 6 videos, and we finished with moving our finished frames to our stage, right? So in order to start up again, I need to find my assignment 3 folder, and I need to find both my assets file and my stage file. And they're both going to be PSDs. And so here they are, and I'll usually have my assets be green and my stage be blue in the coloring. Now, to open these both up in Photopea, I need to open Photopea. You don't want to have anything extra open because this takes, even at just 8 by 8 inches at 100 pixels per inch, we're going to be adding so many assets, it can take quite a bit of processing. So any programs you can close, do close. And then I'm going to first put in my assets. And then I'm going to say File, Open, and then I'm going to open up my stage. And then I also like to have my storyboard just available up in preview in the corner to reference when I need to. Okay, so my goal for the end of last class was to get to the end of my first row of my rough storyboard. So when I introduce my character starts panting a little bit, and then my character starts turning red with a worried expression. So if I go to my stage, let's see where I am. In order to just see what my frames are doing, I just can turn them off and on. So I have the panting, introducing my character, and now his expression starts to get a little worried, especially there. And then he's going to start turning red, and it looks like on my assets I've built up this next frame, and I've started turning him red, but I haven't changed his expression much. So maybe I can do that. And I can do that by saying Command T, not Command T, sorry, Control T, we're in Photopea. And then maybe just regular warp. And the more I do kind of a downward V with the warp, the more worried he's going to look. All right, so there we go. And now, how do I merge them? I'm at my top most visible layer. I hold down Option. I say Layer, Merge, up. And in Photopea, I have to select everything underneath it. So I have to hold down Shift and then also select the background. And then hold down Option and say Layer, Merge Layers. That does it in a non-destructive way. Then I can hit Command A to select all, Command C to copy it all, Command V to paste it on top of my last layer in the stage. So now it goes from this to this to this. And then save my work, Command S. And then it will get rid of my blue dot. So I know that it's updating in the right place, that I'm not accidentally saving it somewhere else. And now these match. I go back to my assets, and now I got to see what else is happening. He's turning red, and now he gets redder still and starts to sizzle. But before I can do anything, I need to hit Command D to deselect, and then delete to get rid of that merge layer. As soon as you copy and paste that merge layer onto your stage, you don't want it in your assets anymore, because it will just clutter things up and hide things from you. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate my bandit head. How can I make him a little bit redder? I can go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and I can actually isolate the red and just make that a little bit more saturated. Maybe a little bit oranger too. Maybe a little darker. So his nose is really getting red now. I can always check my stage to see if that's enough change. And that looks like enough change. Maybe I'll even go more extreme. So I'm isolating the red in my hue saturation. We haven't isolated it before. I'm upping the saturation, darkening it a little bit so it's a darker red, pushing it. So that's quite red. All right. Now let's hit Control T, and I'm going to warp it, and I'm going to start, like it shows here, to really change the expression. And just like real animators do, it can be helpful to have the layer underneath turned on while you're making these changes, because I don't want to change it so much from the layer underneath that it becomes unrecognizable with my Control T. So I have that one on underneath. Sometimes I'll even do what animators do that are hand drawing, and I'll onion skin it. I'll set it at a lower opacity. So while I'm contorting it, in this case warping it, I can start to make it droop a little bit. Now let's take that up to 100%. Turn that off, and so we go from this to this. It starts to kind of constrict and sag. Okay, now I think I want to hint at some sizzle. So these are some of the assets I have for that. And so I'm going to move this behind the head and then maybe move it up a little bit. Maybe make a duplicate of it just in case and move it up a little bit. When in doubt, make a duplicate. And I'm going to turn off auto select layer so I can really control the layers. So I have a little bit of that sizzle starting now. Make sense? So you're just adding components as you need to. Trying to stay pretty focused. It's not great to have too many things going on. If I need to clean it up, my warp made the collar a little weird here. So remember, you have control of all the pixels. So I can go to the layer underneath it, and that color is actually a little weird there too, which means the color is a little weird here. So I don't need to fix that on everything. I just can live with it. But if it was just on this layer, I could take the time to kind of trim it because that will help every subsequent layer. And yeah, I could take the time to trim it right now. So this is one way I could do that. I could take my marquee tool that's for an ellipse, and I can draw one that's a cleaner curve. I can move that, use that as a stencil, and then say select inverse. And then on this layer, I'll just paint with white on the outside of it. Not with gray, but with white. Just on this bottom edge. And clean that up. Now if I wanted to, I could go back and put that in for every layer. That's a pain. There is a way to do that. And I guess because I'm a digital art teacher, I can show you the way to do that. So if you want to make a mask to like fix something that's in earlier ones, you just want to select what you want to mask. In this case, I want to mask this little bit. And I want it actually to go with all of the white background. So I'm going to extend it. Hold down Shift and use my lasso. So that it also goes up the edges so that it always locks into place. This is why we copy a background in with our frames, because if we don't have something going corner to corner to copy, it can free float and not be in the exact right place within the 8 by 8 inches. So now what I'm going to do is hold down Option, say Layer, Merge. Oh, got to select them all. But now I'm just going to select that part of it. So Layer, hold down Option, Merge Layers, and now I'm going to do Command C just on this selection. I'm going to go back to my stage and I'm going to paste it in, and lo and behold, it cleans up the bottom of my collar. Right? But I need to duplicate this several times because my color got misshaped a while ago. So let's see, starting, put these all in a group. So this is just a mask that I'm going to blend with my color. So starting really with my first panting. So that one I don't need to clean up. This one I do. So